Namaste. Today we take up that aspect of that part of Sri Aurobindo's life, that period of Sri Aurobindo's life between 1920 to 1926. But just before that, we can take a quick look at the background. Last time we had taken up the Arya, which is basically between 1914 to 1920. So the background is that between 1914 to 1926, it was a period of one of the most remarkable events in the life of the ashram, as there was no ashram in the life of Sri Aurobindo, and this period had a impact even upon the whole world. So we see that 1914, the mother's first arrival, and why I'm saying this, because I do believe that after 100 years, this is almost like in the trail of that whole period is being reproduced. So 1914, the mother had first arrived to India, and it means that the arrival of Shakti to India. It means the period from which India's resurgence and rise will start in the true sense. So this we see 1914, she arrives. And 2014 is the period when 100 years everybody celebrated. Then the First World War broke out because we may not realize the mother saw in Sri Aurobindo the one whose presence is enough. She saw in Sri Aurobindo the Krishna, whom she used to call Krishna from childhood. From early age, that, of all the masters that would come to her in a body sleep, whom she would converse with at the age of 9, 10, 11. So with one being she formed a consistent relationship, and she used to call him Krishna. Someone had asked mother that how did you recognize that this is your place, this is the work and your mission? How did you become aware of it? So she gives this that, at the age of 9 to 11, I used to have a series of experiences, and there was one particular being with whom I had a consistent relationship, and he was Krishna. When I came here, I recognized Krishna in Sri Aurobindo. So she knew the work and the mission lies here. So 1914, she saw that, but not only she saw Sri Aurobindo, but their coming created a tremendous upheaval among the cosmic forces. They don't want this to happen. The Shakti of the Lord, which has gone far, far away into material nature to create this universe, and she is returning back. And if she comes and becomes one with the Lord, it means the eventual victory over all adverse forces. This is the whole story. So when she came, the war broke out. And one of the impacts of the war was that the mother had to go back because of the war. The situation changed. And so legally it was not permissible. Her husband had to, go back, and she went away. So while Sri Aurobindo continued with the Arya, the mother was in France and then in Japan. In her own way, she was trying to turn the tide of the world forces. And among that work, one of them was to convert the Asura of falsehood, because if he could be converted, then the rest would be very easy. But as we know that the Asura of falsehood refused the conversion, and then she gets an indication that it has to be done in another way. So this part we'll cover in the next talk. But meanwhile, the mother, when she arrives in 1920, it is in the trail of the war. And during the war, the mother had taken such an impact upon her body because she was going in the forefront, healing the soldiers, attending on them, that she had such pains in the nerves because she was bearing all the impact. She says that it used to be like a torture of hell. So if you read her prayers, she says that I have offered my body in a holocaust. And it's only when she met Sri Aurobindo and Sri Aurobindo saw it, then it went away. Then it came back when the yoga of transformation takes place in 60s. So she bore all that impact, the fires of hell, all the pain, the suffering. So when Sri Krishna says in the Gita that, their pain and suffering I have taken upon myself, this is so true of divine beings. So she took upon herself all this pain and suffering that was going on around that time. And then finally she comes, and we know that she said it's the day of the definitive tangible sign of definitive victory over the adverse forces. Meanwhile, Sri Aurobindo was developing along a very interesting lines, though We spoke about the Arya, but if we really look at right from 1907, even before that, in Baroda, where he had a carriage accident in which he survives, he gives the he writes about that experience in the poem, the Godhead surging out of his body, holding the reins of the carriage. And that image somehow, I don't know, that image always reminds me of Sri Krishna holding the, chariot. It's an image which is very similar. He has not written this is about Krishna, but the image that comes is Krishna who is within him hold the chariot. And then we see that even about his experience of nirvana in 1907, 1908 early, when Sri Aurobindo was asked that, oh, you could do it in 3 days, he said, no, it came to me by the grace of the Guru or of Krishna and Kali, if you like. So already he was aware of that action of Krishna and Kali, but instead of Krishna, if we see the Bande Mataram days, he is a worshipper of Kali. And that's how he says in one of his aphorisms, that who can bear the onrush of Kali? He whom Krishna already possesses. So we see that during that period, Bhavani Bharati, Bhavani Mandir. So already Krishna has entered, but through a different door. Krishna and Kali are two ways, sides of one reality. That's how the Mahabhagavad Puran presents it. The story goes that Shiva and Parvati, Kali, they are having a discussion. And they say that, well, you don't understand. She explains to Shiva what is surrender. Shiva remembers 2 things, but the third thing he forgets. She says, you won't understand. You have to become a woman for that. So, he becomes a woman, comes as Draupadi. And Kali becomes Krishna and comes as a man. So, you won't understand till you really become a woman. And all these we see in Sri Aurobindo's aphorisms. So, the worshipper of Kali was already a worshipper of Krishna. That's why we see in Alipur jail, Sri Aurobindo writes in Who about Krishna and Kali coming together. So Krishna and Kali played a tremendous role in Sri Aurobindo's own yoga. And then in Alipur jail we see Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Then he goes to, of course, comes to Pondicherry. And eventually we see the period of the Arya. Now all this turbulence that was taking place during that time, and subsequently, till almost 1926, it was a very turbulent period. 1918 was Spanish flu. And I think we were just 1 year behind. But it actually started in 2018, to be precise. And 2019, it became more and more prominent. So it was literally 100 years of the Spanish flu. And it continued till 1920, almost going into 21. So this was a period when millions of people died. 5 million to be precise, and 50 millions were affected all over the world. And then she comes. So her coming was not easy because the turbulence was going on till almost November. And during that period, the cyclones and everything, the mother was taking upon herself everybody's problems. The moment she came, to this extent that she fell once again very seriously ill. She was almost, this before the formation of the ashram, I think this is 1923 or 24, when she is almost on deathbed. Because he started taking everybody's problems, difficulties. She's the mother. So that's how she was, and she takes it upon herself. So if you look at the period between 20 and 26, this was a period which was very, very difficult. Because it was a period before the Siddhi. Before the Siddhi, you always have a difficult time. And world over, there was a turbulence going on. The war had ended, but rumblings were already going on. And then the mother starts giving meditations, and all the gods, they want to come down, and they are watching the play. We read this in the Puranas, that when Krishna Leela is going on, the gods are watching from there what's going on. So something similar, the gods came down and they were watching what is going on in this new earthly Leela. And then one day mother asked them that, well, why don't you participate in the new creation? That's what I'm going to make. No, we'll help from afar. And Shiva offers to help, but he says, I will not tie myself to a human body. And then she says, but Krishna agreed. And Krishna ties himself, or rather fuses with the body of Sri Aurobindo. Now this is where we have already spoken about it at great length. So what really happened, and which Krishna? Because there, the word Krishna evokes different impressions in everybody's mind, thought, or understanding. So Krishna is Sachidanand Brahma, so is Shiva. See the fight that takes. So is Vishnu, so is Brahma. So these are the four absolutes. And through any door you can enter and become one with the Sachidanand Brahma. So they are all, if you look at it from depending on the route you take. So Shiva becomes Param Shiva or Mahashiva, Mahavishnu. Sri Krishna becomes Ananda Ghan Ghanshyam. So though they are absolute in their own right, each of them represents an aspect of the One Supreme. So Brahma is infinite existence. That's why he is the one who creates. All existences owe themselves to Brahma. He has the power of the word. What does word mean? The vibration. So he releases this vibration, and the moment this vibration is released, creation starts. Whatever is the will behind it. Now once it is released in the space and time which he creates, in space and time this vibration is released, then there is a big challenge because all this has to be harmonized. So many simultaneously are being released in this creation. That harmonizing part is consciousness, Vishnu. They work together. So he has to harmonize everything that is entering into the creation. But, well, chaos also is there as a part of the process of creation. So when chaos becomes too much, the forces of gravitation becomes too strong, then we see Shiva. What does he do? He removes whatever needs to be removed. So he is infinite force. And behind all this triple aspect, creation, preservation and destruction, there is the bliss, the smile of Krishna, which supports the entire play. There is a bliss behind everything. Bliss in creation, bliss even in destruction, bliss even in continuity of existence, preservation. All of this is a play of bliss. So Krishna is Anandamay, that aspect of the divine which is Ananda. So, which Krishna incarnated in Sri Aurobindo. So, this Anandamay aspect of the divine incarnated in a human body in the age of when Dwapar is ending and Kali Yuga is starting. So, he incarnates in a human body, the Anandamay. He takes upon a human body, and because he is none else but Sachidanand, putting forth his Anandamay aspect, that's why we see the moment he comes, he starts the Leela. And what is the Leela? Anandamay Leela. In the beginning, we see that there is the Anandamay Leela of Krishna. And in the process of going through this earthly Leela, he develops an avataric personality. The personality of the avatar connected with earth. Otherwise, Ananda is everywhere. But there is a personality of the avatar which connects with the earth. And for the purposes of the play, in the age of Dwapar, he takes his station at the overmind because Rama has already led creation up till illumined mind. So all three are the same. As the Sachidanand Brahm, putting forth his Anandamay aspect, he takes a human body, assumes a human, divinely human personality and takes his station at the overmind. This carries on for 2500 or 3000, 4000 years since the time of the Mahabharata bar, and he established. See, what was his work? He, because of Krishna, we see the birth of Aryavart in the true sense. Before that, we see again, people speak about Britishers uniting India. No, please. The first unity of India is created by Sri Krishna. Because there were these 3-4 main kingdoms. There was Magad, there was, ruled by Jarasan, there was Dwarka, the Yadukul, and there was Kuruvanshis in Hastinapur. These were 3 powerful kingdoms of that time. And Sri Krishna wanted to make sure that they don't fight with each other and destroy, and yet dharma has to be established. So what a wonderful way, divine diplomacy, if you see during that period, that eventually brought everything under one major emperor, and that is Yudhishthir, because he had prepared him. He knew that he will do dharma. Jarasandha eliminates his own Vanshaj, during that time. Shishupal, all of them were Kansa, they were all forming an alliance. Rukmi, all these people who are adharmis are removed. And then Yudhishthir finally is crowned the king. And then, for so many, Aryavart is established, and for so many thousands of years, it is supported by great kings who became instruments of this divine design. Then, around the period when this Sri Aurobindo's own words, that around the period when Rani Lakshmi Bai sacrifices herself, that is the time around which Sri Krishna's works begins to come to a end. Not end in that sense, but the work has led up to this age. Now something new is required. And this is the age of synthesis, where it's not just Anandamay, it's perfection. So what is perfection? Perfection is the totality of the Lord. So now you have the new avatar, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glani Bhavati Bharata. So now that divine in his totality, with all his perfection, once again takes a human body, stations himself at the supermind where alone perfection can be, the divine perfection. Now we see Krishna, same Satchidananda Brahm, taking a human body, bringing that aspect, the totality of the Lord, which is the perfection of the Lord, stations himself at supermind, and then he begins to start the work. Now, Aryavarth has been led up till this point, but many new changes has taken place. There are things to be done now because Kali Yuga is approaching, or Kali Yuga has led us till this point where human beings have discovered so much in material existence itself. So now there is a need to integrate all this material knowledge with the higher knowledge. So that is a work given to Sri Aurobindo to unify East and West, to unify material life and spiritual life in the highest sense, to bring down perfection upon earth, to establish it. So in this process, Sri Krishna starts entering Sri Aurobindo's life little by little, like baby steps. And then he is in the jail, he comes and says, no, there is a work for you. And one of that work is you have to once again speak the truth of Sanatana Dharma. You have to reveal. Why? Because what Sri Krishna has revealed has over a period of time become lost. Why it has become lost? Because so many interpreters, they are using the Sanskrit as it is understood today. But that Sanskrit is very different than what is being taught today. It's like Latin and English. So many English words have Latin roots, but you can't understand. Supposing you read Latin, you can't understand it on the basis of modern English. You need to understand that. So Sri Krishna comes and gives him a new Nirukta. That is, Nirukta is the rules of grammar. So he gives him the rules of grammar as would apply to the Vedas. So he gives him the secret of the Vedas. And then we see that through the Arya, Sri Aurobindo reveals all this knowledge which has been poured, to which now he is fully open. Secret of the Vedas and all this is going on. And then a time comes when, through the process of yoga, we see that in 1920, Sri Aurobindo's body has completely changed. Its complexion, his hairs have become as if the skin is oily. The entire face, which had pock marks, have gone, vanished. And people can't recognize that you are the same person. And this body is now ready to incarnate or to fuse with Krishna. So which Krishna fused? It is the earthly personality of Sri Krishna. And that's why the divinely human personality. And that's why when people would say, Sri Aurobindo's letter to Dilip Kumar Roy, if you worship Krishna, you will come to me. They are one and the same. Of course, worship in the true sense. Bhakti of Krishna will lead you, because they are one now. Whoever is offering anything to Krishna goes to him automatically, because now they are fused. At one place to Sahanadi, when she sees a vision where she sees Krishna entering into Sri Aurobindo. She was one of them who was present during the 24th November 1926, and she also felt that it's something very special has happened. And she saw this Sri Krishna going and fusing into Sri Aurobindo, and she asked Sri Aurobindo, what did I see? It's blasphemy. How can Sri Krishna fuse into Sri Aurobindo? So she asked, I have seen this, because she was a Krishna Bhakt. So, what did I see, Lord? And he says, Sri Aurobindo's one-line reply, who else but Krishna can fuse with me? So that work of Krishna, which starts 4,500 years back, leads to a grand culmination. And the moment his earthly personality fuses into Sri Aurobindo, the avatarhood starts declaring itself in jail itself, Alipur jail. But it arrives at full culmination on 24th November 1926, where if we want to put it as a metaphor, Sri Krishna literally hands over the baton. Now this yuga is yours, the time to come is yours, And that's why Sri Aurobindo says it is Krishna's work that we are carrying forward. So what was Krishna's work? Krishna came prematurely. He came to bring delight to this world. Rushed upon earth. Okay, let's dance, let's be. Man can be free and full of delight. Mother says, what was Krishna's work? He came to teach men that you can be free and in delight. We don't have to be bound and, follow this way or that way. One man can be happy. Happy, not just happy, in that state of delight, in a state of freedom. But earth was not ready. So what earth returned to him? Mahabharata. Something very similar. No? Sri Aurobindo says that I have come to redeem earth. So 1910 onwards, he is working towards pulling the supramental down. And the world gives not just Mahabharata. Mahabharata was child's play compared to the first and then the Second World War. So all the forces of the world, because now they know it is not just Bharat. So Sri Krishna's work was to unify Bharat into a single Aryavarth. Sri Aurobindo's work, to unify the world and let there be the divine love governing the world, a work of a far greater magnitude in which India has to play a central role. So that is how the work now starts, of a greater unification, a greater synthesis as never before. So he comes and gives to Sri Aurobindo, and from that point onward we see Sri Aurobindo going behind, stepping behind and placing the mother in the front. So many interesting things were happening during that time. One of them being that the mother's name was established in the consciousness of the earth. And along with Sri Krishna's fusing with Sri Aurobindo's body, we see that there is the putting forth of the Divine Mother in the forefront. And all this was happening when the world was changing so fast, so rapidly. If you really read the chronology of the things that were happening, the revolutions that took place, the Russian Revolution, many others which took place during that period, is unimaginable. So it was literally the dance of Krishna and Kali. So first poem we'll read is interesting poem. It's the cosmic dance. Dance of Krishna, dance of Kali. We have heard about Tandav and Lasya. So here it is, you see the reversal, Krishna and Kali. So the one who is supposed to do the Tandav, Shiva, he has changed into the feminine counterpart. Two measures are there of the cosmic dance. Always we hear the tread of Kali's feet. During this period, Sri Aurobindo would often sign off his letters as Kali. Such was the intense identification. Two measures are there of the cosmic dance. Always we hear the tread of Kali's feet, measuring in rhythms of pain and grief and chance. Life's game of hazard, terrible and sweet. So Kali changes time. She respects nothing except what she has come to do. Even the gods get tormented. You are changing too rapidly. You will see, when Kali's dance is going, even the gods are saying, Mahadev, please do something. What can I do? I am helpless. No, we can't. We are, as the story goes in Puranas, they feel burning. They feel the wrath of Kali. What it means is that the change is taking place so fast. They can't cope with it. It's their work to labor in the creation. But they can't cope with it. So they ask Shiva, do something, stay the feet. Otherwise, the whole creation will tumble away. We can't measure with a dance. So, hazard, terrible and sweet. The ordeal of the veiled initiate. Who is the veiled initiate? Is the psychic being in man. It has to go through this rapid change. The hero's soul at play with death's embrace. This is what we see in, again, 100 years later, 2014 to 2026. You'll see this, already it is happening. It's time of rapid changes. Such shiftings are taking place, and at least I know quite a few. I'm sure many of you would have your own stories to recount how lives have changed so drastically during this period. Because it's that same measure which is, the mother has come, 2020. But she has come as Kali. We want to welcome Radha. She says, wait, first the dance of Kali. So she has come with that measure. And what does Kali want? Complete sacrifice of all that we are, all that we do, all that we think, all that we feel. So she wants that. She has come demanding that. After that will come the Mother of Grace, and in 2018 we will have that 150th anniversary of the Mother. The ordeal of the veiled initiate, the hero's soul at play with death's embrace, wrestler in the dread gymnasium of fate. So what is happening? It's evolution fast forward, leaps. The soul is being called to practice in the gymnasium. What is the gymnasium? This world has become the gymnasium, where various kinds of puzzle, challenges, difficulties at different levels, physical, vital, emotional, mental. So if we look at it like that, that Krishna's play has assumed this form, then it's wonderful. But if you look at it, oh my God, this is happening, isolated event, isolated incidents, death. Yes, death's embrace. Veiled initiate, playing with death's embrace. And sacrifice a lonely path to grace. So this is a period when Kali dances. The only path is sacrifice. Give yourself and you are liberated. Hold yourself back and say mercy, then her mercy is slay the ego. That's supreme mercy. We can't bear it. So sacrifice. Here sacrifice in the sense of, Sri Aurobindo gives the original sense of sacrifice is not leaving this, dropping that. Sacrifice is readiness to refine and purify everything. Sacrifice is yajna. So every tendency, thought, emotions, life impulses, will, body, it must go through a process of intense purification by offering it into the fire within. So that's the sacrifice. And sacrifice a lonely path to grace. Man's sorrows made a key to the mystery. So it's so contemporary. Sri Aurobindo has written that. Man's sorrows made a key to the mysteries. Truth's narrow road out of time's waste of dream. See, this man's sorrows is a key to the mysteries. Again, 1914 to 1920 was the Arya. You see what has happened now in the last 2 years. People will say because of 150th year, 100 years also was celebrated. But there is an outburst of interest in Sri Aurobindo's writings all over the world. For some reason or the other, different groups have come in and all are beautifully, each one in his own way, little contribution to bring out the truths which are there in Arya. So you see, Arya is being today reread all over the world. So we are having the 100 years celebration of the completion of the Arya. This is 2021. 100 years of the completion of the Arya. Truth's narrow road out of time's wastes of dream. So many dreams mankind has had till now. Many of them are like bubbles, they collapse. And in our life also, wishful thinking, dreams. Neele gagan ke tale, it should be like this, like that, world should be like that. Out of those dreams, few scattered strands here and there, the divine picks up. Yes. And then he says, all these dreams I have gathered through this narrow road. See, narrow road reminds of that story of Moses, no? How you have to pass through that river where it parts. River Nile gives a narrow passage for them to pass through to the other shore. So narrow road. This is a time when one has to go through narrow road within the heart. Concentrate, focus only on that one reality, one truth. The soul's 7 doors from matter's tomb to rise. The 7 doors are, of course, the 7 chakras through which it rises. 7 centers of consciousness. And he's using the word matter's tomb to rise. It's dead without the presence of the soul. Are the common motives of a tragic theme. So the theme looks tragic. Dance of death. But what is happening behind it? There is the soul is being forced to rise through the narrow passage. Forcing through the 7 doors to ascend. Because it's only when man is confronted with death on the roads of time that he seeks for some principle of immortality. Otherwise, he is too happy in his kushi world. People often ask, why didn't God create a world where there is no struggle? Well, the heavens are like that. But no struggle means no progress. They are fixed. The moment you bring the element of progress means the challenge of time. Challenge of time means struggle, because time means past, present, future. You want to go into the future, the past will hold back. So that's why the struggle, because it's an evolutionary world. But eventually you will go far beyond the world of the gods. But after all this, Sri Aurobindo makes a very wonderful remark. But when shall Krishna's dance through nature move? The mask, his mask of sweetness, laughter, rapture, love. So Kali will clear the ground. Then he'll wear the mask of sweetness. Right now he is wearing the mask of Kali in battlefield of Kurukshetra. But then there is another mask, his original mask, his original form, mask of sweetness, laughter, rapture, love. There are some very interesting aphorisms where Sri Aurobindo speaks about Krishna and Kali. Kali is Krishna revealed as dreadful power and wrathful love. How can love be wrathful? It is like this, that when we love God with great intensity, and he is seeing, TK, let the intensity build, then a time comes, he says, okay, I will come. Wrathful love means then nothing can come between you and the divine. He removes every obstacle. You may say, sir, please, itna bhi nahi, I have loved you but not. But then he doesn't. He takes away everything that comes in the way of us and the divine. Wrathful love. So it is Krishna. But otherwise, what is the way of Krishna? Very different. He lures us, then leaves us to weeping, then lures us again. This is the way. He will come wearing the mask of this person, that person. You feel this is my ultimate person. And then he will again leave behind. Then you'll say, oh, this was an illusion. Then again he will come. Again you will say, this is the final one. And then again he leaves and says, this was an illusion. Why? Because he's luring us to slowly through all these masks. And they are necessary for a progress. Because in one go we cannot. So step by step he takes us. But when Kali comes, he says, leave aside all these intermediate steps. Wrathful love. So she will hold the soul a captive of her love and doesn't let it go. So this is Krishna. She slays with her furious blows the self in body, life and mind in order to liberate it as spirit eternal. Krishna comes, gives you the boon only to realize, as Sri Aurobindo says in one place, sin is a disguise of trick of Krishna. Sin is a trick of Krishna to disguise himself, conceal himself from the eyes of the righteous. So he conceals himself through sin. Okay, it's a trick of Krishna to conceal himself. But so slowly one moves and he is hidden there. But when he comes in Kali form, then it is something amazing and beautiful. So she slays all our physical desires, vital longings, all the mental trappings in which we are stuck. This is the period we can see now, which is going on. Once again he says, canst thou see God in thy torturer and slayer, even in thy moment of death or thy hours of torture? There are those who have seen it like this. There is a whole passages written by Sri Aurobindo, when he is going through the British government's ordeal. Can you see God in the torturer? Canst thou see him in that which thou art slaying? See and love even while thou slayest. Thou hast thy hand on the supreme knowledge. How shall he attain to Krishna who has never worshipped Kali? So we see Sri Aurobindo was a Kali worshipper. See, this aspect of Sri Aurobindo is rarely highlighted. Everybody speaks about Krishna, but before worshipping Krishna, before Krishna has revealed himself to him, he is a worshipper of Kali. When he comes into the Bang Bang revolution, from that time onwards, and we read that poem, The Mother Awakes, where suddenly he says that, with a dreadful cry, Kali has woken up and she asks for blood. Who is ready? It's terrible night. So we see Sri Aurobindo as a worshipper of Kali. And because he has worshipped Kali, he is willing to stand below the sword of death and yet not flinch in faith. Then Krishna reveals himself. Krishna, that's how Arjuna, he reveals himself. And Arjuna would have lost the chance had he said, no, I want to join the bandwagon of sannyasis. He would have lost the chance. Battle would still have been won. But thanks to Arjuna standing steadfast with all those swords and weapons dancing over his head, and that's what makes him what he is. How shall he attain to Krishna who has never worshipped Kali? Then there is another one. I did not know for some time whether I loved Krishna best or Kali. When I loved Kali, it was loving myself. That was the degree of identification he has with Prachand Chand Chandika. When I loved Kali, it was loving myself. But when I loved Krishna, I loved another. Too sweet. Sri Aurobindo's life, if you see, is a life of sacrifice. So I loved Kali, I was identified with Kali. Krishna's life is too sweet, except for that Mahabharata war. So, for Sri Aurobindo and the mother, that was not for today, someday. So when people wanted to make a crown for Sri Aurobindo, they were collecting money and getting diamonds. He says, let the kingdom come, the crown can wait. That was his life, a life of sacrifice. When you look at Sri Aurobindo's life. But when I loved Krishna, I loved another, and still it was myself with whom I was in love. Therefore I came to love Krishna better even than Kali. So Krishna is behind Kali. He is a lover of Kali and identifies with Kali. What happens in the bargain? Now the Krishna within him starts expressing and manifesting. And then he realizes that actually it was myself whom I loved through this process. Very beautiful aphorisms, we'll read some of them. When I first met Krishna, he's talking as if, just imagine, look at this half a. When I first met Krishna, just think about it. It's like you're walking on the road. Several times after that, he is living in that ananda. When Dilip Kumar Roy speaks about greatness of Krishna vis-a-vis Sri Aurobindo, he says, which Krishna shall I argue with? There is the Krishna with whom I have spent hours, that blissful ananda of Krishna. So he says, which Krishna shall I argue? When I first met Krishna, I loved him as a friend and playmate. Till he deceived me. Ways of Krishna. If you get too cozy and forget about, your work, then he will say, okay, that mother when she is moving on the guest house terrace and it is Krishna who comes, he says, Sri Aurobindo used to be absorbed in that. And Sri Krishna would come and walk with her. Then she felt, it's so wonderful, so blissful. Why would you work for the new creation? Such an ananda. And then Sri Aurobindo came to know. So Sri Krishna stopped coming. And then she says very beautifully, finally Supreme. Because she is walking now with the Supreme. She is come, in fact, Mother herself, if we see, she has come as embodiment of love and grace. But we see that the way she changed time in many aspects. When I first met Krishna, I loved him as a friend and playmate till he deceived me. Then I was indignant and could not forgive him. What a relation of friendship it is. Afterwards, I loved him as a lover. Imagine, not as a beloved, as a lover. The master of man and his infinite lover. He is my lover, just imagine. And he still deceived me. I was again and much more indignant, but this time I had to pardon. What a sweet relationship. When I saw others than Krishna and myself in the world, I kept secret God's doings with me. But since I began to see Him and myself everywhere, I have become shameless and garrulous. He starts sharing all the experiences which we find enshrined. There's some beautiful, I'll just quickly read them because we'll read a few poems. My lover took his crown and royal necklace from his head and neck and clothed me with them. So this is, I would look at that fusion of Sri Krishna's earthly personality on 24th November as, something in this aphorism. So necklace is all the powers. So all the powers of the supernature. And the crown, of course, is the divine being. My lover took his crown and royal necklace from his head and neck and clothed me with them. But the disciples of the saints and the prophets abused me and said, he is hunting after siddhis. Living in Krishna, even enmity becomes a play of love and the wrestling of brothers. These Semites have afflicted mankind with the conception of a God who is a stern and dignified king and solemn judge and knows not mirth. That is how people try to paint Sri Aurobindo. Oh, he is, like a judge. Even now, people try to do this with mother. And mother says, there's a whole conversation. She says, just because I wrote cling to truth, now they come and tell me, mother, you say, see, Sri Aurobindo has said, do not imagine truth and falsehood can live together. So mother says, what can I do? I have only written cling to truth. But they don't understand. Each one thinks what he is believing is truth. Each one has their shibboleths. But they don't realize it. Other person is falsehood and I am in truth. Then she laughs and laughs. She says they don't understand that truth. Then the disciple asks, then what is truth? She says you can live it, you cannot define it. Because it's infinity. Those who want to know it, it will reveal itself at each moment. But you can't define it. So Semites have afflicted mankind with the conception of a God who is a stern and dignified king and solemn judge and knows not mirth. You can't laugh with God. Huh? He's sitting with a stick and even the prayers, some of these Semitic prayers are, you feel, my God, if you enter that prayer hall, you feel what's happening? What's gone wrong? Is everything okay? God is, there was a whole joke about it that when a child is taken to a, place of worship, Semitic religion, and he is told, you believe in so and so. So he says after some time that, okay, I said, I believe. Then the person asked him, why did you believe so easily? He said, I saw what they did to somebody who didn't believe in his type of God. Christ on the cross. He says, I saw what they do. If you don't believe in the God, they want you to believe. So I said, better you believe. Otherwise, I am going to meet this fate. So this is, but we who have seen Krishna know him for a boy fond of play and a child full of mischief and happy laughter. That's the imagery portrays of Krishna in that story, Swapna. He is full of mischief. You can play with Krishna. He's the playmate. Sports, you can sport with him. You can, but know that he will suddenly vanish. He loves to play the old game of hide and seek. Oh, my friend, playing very well. Suddenly, where are you? Where are you? He is nowhere to be seen. And then what he does is he hides behind the form of Kali. So you see, where is Krishna gone? It's all terrible clouds and storm and Krishna, where are you? No voice. Nothing. There comes no voice of the celestial friend. And then you're looking, where is he? Where is he? So Kali's, he would not say he's hiding behind. This is also a mischief. If you don't be afraid, if you know this too is Krishna, another way of revealing himself, then after some time the cloud goes away and Krishna's smile beautifully spreads like the rosy at dawn in the sky. So this is the play. Then again you feel, oh wonderful, my friend has come. He will keep on playing till one day we discover this too is Krishna. Shyama and Shyama. This is Shyam, that is Shyama. So this is how he plays the game. So we who know him for a boy, fond of play and a child full of mischief and happy laughter. And finally he says, when will the world change? When will the world change into the model of heaven? You see, this is about the Adam and Eve who were driven out. Why? Because innocent people, they made a mistake. What was the mistake? That time you didn't have the Apple iPods and all, so they just ate an apple. This lady Eve gave an apple. Please taste it. He tasted it. Fruit of knowledge actually. Now he wanted to know. And they were driven out of paradise. So now, but it is always there in memory that you want to recapture that state. So how to recapture? When will the world change into the model of heaven? When all mankind becomes boys and girls together with God, revealed as Krishna and Kali. Kalis are ready. Krishnas are waiting. They get too scared, when they see Kali. So first Kali, then Radha is a long time to manifest. So he describes the happiest boy and strongest girl of the crowd. He makes it very clear. This weak, frail image of girl, chui mui. She is Kali. She can take the challenge of life. Don't misbehave. She is an incarnation of Kali. What is Krishna's role? Smile, play. It's okay. Rest she will manage. Kali. Playing together in the gardens of paradise. The Semitic Eden was well enough for Adam and Eve. But Adam and Eve were too grown up. And it's God himself too old and stern and solemn for the offer of the serpent to be resisted. It was needed. The God was too stern, he's not saying openly that Jehovah was an Asura. Basically, that's the God, wrathful God. He drove them with a sword and is chasing them. But basically, he says that's not the God that we worship. Whom do we worship? The God who plays with us. We have seen him at work in the heart of the sphere. A woman is Lord of us, naked and fierce. We have love for a boy who is dark and resplendent. A woman is Lord of us, naked and fierce. And they speaks about of Radha and Krishna. Our love is their kiss. So this is and we'll read just one more poem. So we know about the last we had read poem Krishna, which is a sonnet, when Sri Aurobindo saw him in the jail as Vasudevam Sarvamiti. But there is another poem Sri Aurobindo has written on Krishna. And this shows the Krishna in his, beyond the Advaitins emancipation, beyond the Mayavadins, Advaita, that beyond Brahman, as the supreme personality, infinite personality of the Godhead. So that I will just read. Okay, one more aphorism before that. The divine friend of all creatures conceals his friendliness in the mask of an enemy till he has made us ready for the highest heavens. Then, that means all is Krishna. Even the challenges of life are Krishna himself. He conceals himself. Why does he do that? What kind of game is he playing? Then, as in Kurukshetra, the terrible form of the master of strife, suffering, and destruction is withdrawn, and the sweet face, the tenderness, the oft clasped body of Krishna shine out on the shaken soul and purified eyes of his eternal comrade and playmate. So none can reach heaven who has not gone through hell. So if one wants to escape the law of pain, one wants to escape from the law of evolution. And why this law of pain is there? Because material is so hard. When mankind becomes more refined, then his ways also become gentle. So Krishna first comes as a blacksmith. Why? Because we are iron. He beats us and we slowly become malleable. Then mankind graduates towards gold. Then he comes as a goldsmith, tinkering a little bit here and there, and he makes a beautiful ornament to be placed at the feet of the Divine Mother. As is our consciousness, so is God's ways. So we'll close with this poem, Krishna. This is the second one. Now, this is not just about the earthly personality of divine human personality of Sri Krishna, the avatar, but who he is in his ultimate, the highest, Satchidanand Brahma. O immense light and thou, O spirit wide, boundless space, whom have you clasped and hid? Deathless limbs, gloried face? So all this space and time, this vastness, see, Vishwarup Darshan, but in a very different way. So whom have you hid behind you? Gloried limbs, deathless face? There is that hint that comes through this vastness of space, boundless space. Somebody is hidden there with gloried limbs and deathless face. Vainly lies space and time. Void are we, there is none. So that's what the Advaitin reaches and says there is none. Why? Because Krishna is hiding. He says, okay, fine. If you believe that I am nothing, I will come in the garb of nothingness. So he is hidden behind. So they come in space and time because they also don't know. So they say, there is none. Vainly strives self and world, crying, I alone. So he is hidden from the gaze of this world. Behind it he is hidden, beyond it. But he is the self of everything. One is there, self of self, soul of space, fount of time. Now we see the world soul where he describes the soul of space, all the space-time continuum. He is their secret fount. From him, he is the living knot from whom they are emerging. Fount of time, heart of hearts, mind of minds, he alone sits sublime. Now, sometimes we can take a pause. People ask, okay, all this is very fine, poem, wonderful. Tell us something practical about the yoga. In these two lines, we see the secret of the yoga. What is it? There is a little shadow self. Little mind, little heart, little life, little self. And we play at being bound and little because we believe. We have been made to believe that man is a social animal. Two-legged creature. So we are living like that. Now when we face the challenge of life, our mind is unable to solve it. So what do we do ordinarily? We refer the problem to higher up. See, that's how people do, no? When they can't solve, so they refer it to higher up. Where is the higher up? He is within us. Self of self. Mind of mind. So when we cannot understand, when we cannot solve, instead of see the practical implication of this. Instead of trying to break our little mind against the problem and the challenge, mind sees this side, that side, 100 sides. Then it gets puzzled, baffled. It doesn't even understand the problem, let alone solve it. So what should the mind do? Remember this poem, mind of mind. Oh, you are there. Okay, I refer my problem to you. You solve it for me. So self of self, soul of space, everywhere, not a single nook or corner or cranny, the abyss, everywhere he is there. Because he is there as the soul of space. Fount of time. Heart of hearts. When you have a heartbreak, this is in fashion, no? So, Krishna's ways to help us grow. It's an exercise of the heart. Huh? Don't take it all seriously. It's like, it is his way of making the heart grow. It's exercise of the heart. So heart breaks, then you grow stronger. Again it breaks. You know it is fragile. You grow stronger. So heart breaks. But what should be done during the time when the heart breaks? You say, oh, nobody is there for me. Koi hamdam na raha, koi sahara na raha. Don't do all this. Hamdam sahara sab hai. All is inside. Heart of hearts. Turn to the divine love. Very simple. When the heart breaks, then you say you are the heart. Original heart is there, na? He will do the bypass. And once again you are fit and healthy, back for the same folly again. That's also his play. Don't feel miserable. He says, yeah, I have just done this much because you are not ready for that total, transplant. One day he will transplant the heart. And then it's a new heart altogether. So heart of hearts, mind of minds, he alone sits sublime when there is no other but Krishna. See, this is so practical. Still people will ask, okay, tell us some practical things about the yoga. Practical means sit in meditation in this posture, 2.5 feet, bolt straight. This is a mechanical thing. God doesn't care for that. He cares for how we connect with Him. He's not up above like a solemn judge. Oh, I have made a mistake. Then, what happens when you have God as judge? You feel guilty. Guilt is a mechanism of adverse forces, make you feel worse. They are here to make it worse. Already you have fallen. That's bad enough, huh? Now you are feeling guilty. What do you do when you fall? Call your friend. Lift me out. So he'll lift out. So again you fall. What do? Again you call your friend. You know he will pull you out at 10,000 million times. Why? Because you are him. He has become this. Therefore he'll do it. Because this is him. So he will do it million times because we are not separate from him. From our side we feel we are separate, but from his side we are always connected. The hand may not know that I am part of the body and the brain and the self. But the brain and the body knows that this is my hand. So it is inevitable that he'll do it. Not that it's an excuse to fall million times and try. You must not tempt God, my Lord, but one must know. So this is the practical implication that there is none other but he playing at hide and seek, his original game. Oh, no void, absolute, self-absorbed, splendid, mute. Who said that this nothingness, void, splendid, mute, it doesn't speak, it doesn't hear? What is the point of praying? God is nothingness. He says, no, this is a mistake. Because why Sri Aurobindo can say this? Because he has seen this and gone beyond. So what is there behind all this? Hands that clasp, hold, and red lips that kiss, blow his flute. This one line can change us in our life. Amal Kiran's story, where he took a medicine which is 3 times the lethal dose, and he feels he is going to die. So he says, okay mother, I am going to die. Anyways, I am giving myself to you. And mother says he survived because during the end point, and I know in Upar tragedy where the cinema fire took place, my own cousins were involved and 6 of them had gone together, 5 survived, 1 died. These 5 who survived, I actually asked them, because they were my cousins, I asked them, so what happened? So all of them, they were Krishna Bhaktas. At the last moment they realized that nothing can be done. So they were just thinking of Krishna. Somehow they survived. What about the one who died? She was calling her child's name. Understandable. But she died. So this is, hands that clasp, hold. He is there to hold us. Even when we are falling, last minute call, and he is there to hold us. Where is he found? Where is his temple? Dwarkadhish. Dwarka to he is submerged, because otherwise, where is to be found? In Hastinapur, that is gone. Where will he find him? There is a poem, Mahatmas, where Sri Aurobindo speaks of where to find Krishna. So where is he found? He is found in the passion of the flower. He is found in the joy within man. He is found everywhere. But here he puts it very beautifully. All he loves. He is not busy punishing people. Or even when he seems to destroy, it is with immense love. So many chances he gives to blossom. But at some point, all he loves, all he moves. You think that, it's this person, that person. This is Dvaitavad, or, this is ignorance. But we know he is moving all. Why is he moving? That is the mysterious play we cannot understand till the scales of ego have dropped from our eyes. We need a new set of eyes. Original cataract with which we are born. Why cataract? Blindness. All are His. All are He. Everybody belongs to Him. Even those who don't believe in, doesn't matter. They are His. He has His own way. And all are He. He has become all this. That is the Krishna Sri Aurobindo experiences and realizes. Now you see, marvelous line. Many, now Vishwarupi has seen, there are many hands and many mouths. Now look at the practical side of it. This vision is so liberating. Many limbs sate His whims, bear His sweet ecstasy. Are we not each a limb of the great Lord? Or maybe His cell? Now when we look at life like that, there is such a wonderful unity and such a beautiful, each one in his own way, sate his whims, bear his sweet ecstasy. Two in one. Two who know difference, rich in sense. Two to clasp, one to be. This is strange mystery. What is two in one? What is this world, this nature, this vast? This too is Krishna. He is hidden behind this mask, behind this entire play. The play is nothing else but Krishna. It is His play. He has become the play. But at the same time, there is a subtle difference. And that is the one whom we discover behind the play. So two in one, two who know difference, rich in sense. This too is Krishna, because he's saying all are He. But there is a subtle difference. And that difference, they who know, they understand how the play operates. He has become everything. But in this becoming everything, we can truly play the play when we have identified or known that which is hiding behind the play. That is the mystery that we need to know. Two, to clasp. When you clasp the world and the play separately, you miss Krishna. When you seem to clasp Him, it's an imperfect clasp if the world is excluded. That's what Sri Aurobindo says. If you exclude the world and give a clasp to God, it is an intense but a narrow clasp. So two to clasp, one to be. But when you become one, then the difference goes away. The bhed goes away. Then it is one. This is strange mystery. This world is Krishna concealed. It is Krishna who has become this play. But to truly play, you can't take this as an excuse and say, okay, whatever I am doing, it's Krishna. You have to find Him, become one with Him. And that one who is in the world and beyond the world. So that's what we see. Now a new chapter starts with Sri Aurobindo's complete identification with the earthly, divinely human personality of Sri Krishna, which is carrying the work of the ages, which is to manifest the divine in mud and mire and stone. Thank you.